Good morning, everyone.
I predicted the time you were going to turn it on this time.
What?
I predicted when you were going to start the show this time.
Oh,
I'm learning.
You're getting good at this, Kyle. Welcome to the Morning-ish Report, the newly named but same concept show here on Laughing Place TV, where we look at the top stories in the world of Disney today and often throw in some fun stuff as well. My name is Debbie Mosley. I'm the co-founder of Laughing Place. Below me is Kyle Burbank, my favorite co-host for this show.
Oh, thank you.
And to my left is, he is the managing editor of Laughing Place. And to my left is the CEO of Laughing Place, the one we all bow to, our own personal Bob Iger, Benjamin Breitbart.
I'm not even going to dignify that.
The reason we have Benjamin Breitbart on the show today is, of course, our top story today is the recently completed town hall that new Disney CEO Bob Iger just had with the employees of Disney. So we're going to talk about that. If you have any questions or comments about that, if you were able to see it or hear some of the reports on it, we'd love for you to be a part of this in the chat. And let's get started where we often get started. Before we get to the CEO, we start the show. Kyle, what do we start the show with every time?
We look at the stock.
We look at the stock because we are money people. So Disney stock today is down 2.5%. But that means nothing without comparing it to the market as a whole, which is only down 1.12%. So Disney underperforming the market a little bit. We were looking before this town hall speech. It was about the same, so that did not move the needle.
Yeah, I would guess that this needle is a strange world needle, not any sort of macro. It's not big enough to really indicate any sort of big vision change.
You're saying the entire world isn't big? Oh, you mean the movie Strange World? I didn't know.
For those of you watching us on Laughing Place TV, welcome, and please feel free to use the chat over there too. We can see your chat and we can make you a part of this show. All right, so we're going to start it with Bob Iger. He just did a town hall with Disney cast members. His intro remarks were pretty short, and then he basically was just a Q&A. So I forgot your name, Benji. Let's talk about it.
So, obviously, we're going off of sources here. So, but basically, our understanding is that there was a lot of I don't knows. I'm just getting back. I think this was really more of a, good to be back. I know you probably have questions, and I need to let you know that I don't have answers yet. It doesn't look like we had questions that some of which were answered in its way. We know that. The hiring freeze and the travel restrictions are remaining in place. He thinks they were good ideas. Travel still allowed for essential, and he acknowledges that the word essential is malleable. So that's still happening. Regarding like the stuff on the park side, Park Pass, WDI relocation. All that just kind of says he still needs to get with Josh. I think it's telling Josh is one of the people he didn't work with previously. Josh would have been the head of Walt Disney World. I'm sure he knew him, but wasn't a direct report. Before Bob Chapek became CEO. One of the things that is interesting is we kind of got the sense that, last time he was ready to move on. We got the sense this time he's ready to come back and get the feeling that he cared. He cared about it. One thing that we saw was that the one thing he missed the most was the people, which I can see. Wanting to get back, working with everybody, and even though the company's facing struggles, as he acknowledged that Wall Street expectations has changed. So they went from just aggressively trying to get new subscribers to streaming to turning it profitable, which is a different goal. And, they'll have to do what they need to do regarding cost spending to get there. So, but just like before, we don't know what that looks like. And so it's not a huge pivot from Chapek. Really, the only big pivot that we already knew was the one we already knew about, where they're going to kind of restructure the company the way it used to be without the DMED P&L kind of thing. So not a lot of news though. But
yeah, I'm surprised honestly from this town hall that he didn't have one thing to be able to say to get some rah-rah. He comes into this with such positive vibes, and people were just so excited to hear from Bob really for the first time, especially people within the company. This was an employee town hall. And there were certain things he could have said that would have gotten cheers in the company and or cheers outside the company. So I'm just surprised he didn't come in with one of those. And the one specific I'm surprised with is the Lake Nona. I'd be shocked if that move still goes through, and I'm surprised he wasn't at a point to be able to just make that announcement today.
Be interesting, because one thing that we saw was that he talked about how it's important for people to work together in a physical location, but that he understands the value of like personal time. So I wonder how much this would have been different if this happened a week after he was named CEO, and the week that he was named CEO was not Thanksgiving. Now, I think there was probably a certain amount of not wanting to bother people during Thanksgiving. I mean, and even just, I expected that there would be a lot for us, that we would have a lot of emails coming in about changes, and there was nothing. There was virtually no sort of reorg announcements or reporting. I mean, one guy left, and it's not really a huge deal. So because not only he was in New York celebrating Thanksgiving, obviously relocating to Burbank or wherever wherever his LA house is probably a logistic. So it came across as really like this wasn't something he had an inkling. He came in with a bold 30-point plan, that he was really just kind of coming in to right the ship, and he still needs to get his before making any sort of, grand announcements, really make sure he understands the issues at hand. Wow. Especially because, you got to remember, he wasn't privy to anything until a week ago. So, having to get the data and all that stuff to really have those conversations probably wasn't going to happen last week.
Maybe I'm just a little too cynical. I find it impossible to believe that Bob Iger is not up to speed on just about everything going on in this company. He's had a week. Who knows what he's had before that with all his contacts? You're up to speed, and you don't work for the company. I think there's a difference between the stuff that he's going to be asked about that's important to people versus what he needs to do right away. I mean, I think there's the cost savings, the reorg. That's the stuff that he needs to deal with first. I don't think Lake Nona is on the top of his list. I'm sure it's not, but just to keep the momentum rolling, the fact that he couldn't come in and say, yes, we have to be prudent with our finances, but the hiring freeze, the travel freeze, I'm not sure we need to go to that extent. He couldn't say that. I'm not saying he could, but since he couldn't, at least give a bone someplace else.
Well, but you're presuming that the Lake Nona move isn't happening, and I think that's perhaps not accurate. And so,
right, I am,
and so I don't think he can go in saying it's not going to happen without, especially considering the politics involved in it that are unfortunate.
No, Iger doesn't deal in politics. I've heard that that's the case.
Okay, but that's a very complex. They've signed leases and things, so it's not like we're going to make that decision in a week. That
sure
would, I think, be non-prudent.
And one thing we know about Bob Iger is he is prudent. I was surprised at the whole talk about Wall Street and how they're measuring things, and how now it's not about subscriber growth, it's about profitability. That's the way startups talked after the crash of 2000, when it went from revenue to profitability.
Yes.
Yeah, and that as soon as this was over, I was turned on CNBC, and they basically said, what changed is they moved from, they said 2024 is not soon enough to become profitable. That's what Wall Street said. Now, Wall Street as a nebulous thing, sure, but that's essentially what's happening. They are the idea behind Disney Plus was they could be valued like a startup, like Netflix, right? And now Netflix isn't valued like a startup, and so Disney's not going to be valued by a startup, and you can't control that. Startup, Facebook, Alphabet, all those people, they're not being valued the same way they were 6 months ago either. So no. It's not a Disney issue, but it's an issue everyone's pivoting. There's layoffs across.
I understand. My surprise is Disney responding to that. Disney feeling like, or at least saying out loud to their employees, hey, we need to respond to what Wall Street is valuating companies, as opposed to, we're Disney, we know we're going to be profitable, we don't have to ride the ebbs and flows of Wall Street. We just can follow through with our plan. We may change our plan because it makes sense for us, not because it makes sense for Wall Street.
No, I think that's a good point. But, I think the problem in this is, I mean, and one thing I respect about Bob Iger is he doesn't just always listen to what Wall Street wants.
Right.
But especially when you have the barbarians at the gate, so to speak, you do need to realize what their expectations are and manage them. Now, they could come back and say, hey, guess what? We're going to be X profitable if you give us another year, right? I just don't know that planning has happened yet. So I think it was shocking, I will say, to basically understand that Bob Iger is basically continuing the Bob Chapek plan for this short term. But I would also say, especially while this was open, obviously we're getting sources that tell us, that means everyone's getting sources that tell them. And so, you also need to be careful if you're going to pivot, doing it. This would not be the appropriate place to announce a completely new strategy. So I think, yes, short term. I mean, do I think that I believe that by the time Bob Iger leaves again, Disney will have more employees then than it does right now. I think it'll have a dip and then it'll come back because that's what Bob Iger does. But I think, you're looking at, okay, well, so if the growth, if we have real questions about the profitability of the streaming service, and I don't think that he really has dug into it. And we've talked before about how the price increases, the advertising component that's launching in a few days is going to change everything. So I think they'll wait for that to happen and then really see where things are.
Kyle, anything strike you from the meeting?
Well, I have to say the thing that I saw come out that was most interesting to me is that Willow Bay did indeed sign off on this. So we're not in for a Tom Brady situation, hopefully. I was worried about that ever since this was announced, so it was nice to get that confirmation.
I feel like sorry, go ahead, Ben.
I would say, do we want to answer some of these questions?
Actually, before we do, I will. But before we do,
I'll answer them like Iger. I don't know.
I found it interesting. You mentioned Willow Bay. He specifically brought her up because some of the reports out there, and I don't mean Wall Street reports, I mean Disney people, Disney personalities saying that this is not something Willow Bay, specifically Jim Hill. I mean, he put it on a podcast. It's no big secret. Willow Bay did have to sign off on this. She was not that enthused about it, and she is the reason this is only a 2-year contract. So, I'm not saying, I'm not giving pro or con Jim Hill, but it is interesting to hear that report versus Bob Iger's Willow Bay is 100% for this. At least it keeps him out of politics, and go Bob, go. So that's pretty interesting. All right. So the first question we've got here is from a Green Fiend. Any comments from Iger on if he'll continue with the more legacy, old or new, upcoming original adult content that is TVMA rated for U.S. Disney Plus?
So no, content-wise, we didn't get anything specific outside of that he wants to create content to be the core of what Disney is. So regarding where it's coming from, where it looks like, the separation between Disney Plus and Hulu, that whole conversation was not addressed. It will be eventually because it has to be. There's a ticking time clock on that one, but we did not get any answers on that.
Apple acquisition. So he there were plenty of reports that he got asked. In fact, I think that was the most oft-tweeted thing was his response to the very first question: is Apple going to acquire Disney? What did he have to say about that?
Oh, I mean, it's pure speculation, which it is, right? I mean, he's also not going to announce an acquisition by Apple or an acquisition of anything else in employee town hall and a soundstage on the lot. However, what I think the headline is, that was just people speculating, right? I mean, there was no actual. I mean, this is a guy who doesn't even know if they're going to move to Lake Nona. He's not selling Apple in 10 seconds. But we did get the idea. He did say that they don't expect any major acquisitions in the near future.
Which was interesting. He says we are happy with our assets, and
right.
Which
they always, they always say, right?
Right before buying Fox, they said that, I believe.
Right. But I will say, I don't expect them. I believe him this time. At least, the things will turn around and then they'll have money to burn at some point, but it's not today.
Geo says, I liked his honest comment on the park reservation system, which again was simply, I've heard things about it, a lot of negative, some positive, and Josh and I will have some conversations about it. So there have been reports out there that there was already a plan to get rid of it for the most part early next year, a plan that came under Chapek. So kind of funny if he doesn't get rid of it, then all of a sudden Chapek wanted to get rid of Res and Iger doesn't.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. While obviously I wish that we had more news to report out of this thing, I think it makes you excited for after he has all these conversations with all these people that he keeps saying he has to have. Where does that fall out? And I think you're coming into the holiday season, and so I think sometime in the new year you'll be hearing what the plans are. And
I missed it. Did he tout the attendance of Very Merry Christmas Party during this? I didn't see any tweets about that.
No.
Richard Scott says, I hope there will be peace between him and DeSantis.
So does Bob.
Between Disney and DeSantis, yes. I think Bob Iger was very diplomatic in talking about Florida, although he did, I believe, say that Florida is very important to us, and we are very important to Florida. So,
both of which are true.
Both of which are 100% true. Can't have one without the other. JJ Smith thinks it's funny that they're positive in park. I would love to know the numbers. Park reservations are a great concept, but the way they do it now, where it's still packed in the park, it just seems like a lose-lose on both ends. Are there people that are happy with the park reservation system that think it does achieve what Chapek says it's supposed to achieve?
Yeah, there's some. I wouldn't say it's a major component.
Will Bob Iger lower ticket prices?
I don't think Bob Iger will lower ticket prices. I think Bob Iger may slow the pace of ticket increases. I don't think, given the economics of right now, they want to really be cutting prices. They might do promotions and things like that. But, I've been proven wrong hundreds of times. But I would say, it's more maybe they'll just hold the line a little bit longer than they would have under Chapek, or simplify it. I think those conversations are probably all tied into the reservation system as well.
Do you expect Iger at any point to start using the term "turn on the spigot"? Like, so it's
the levers.
The levers. He doesn't use spigot. He uses levers. I thought he said spigot.
I thought he might have used a few different
the
phrases.
Faucet.
The faucet.
What Nick would like. Nick would like to know anything on attraction upkeep and maintenance. So many rides at Disneyland in needs of lots of repairs, especially racers.
No, that's getting to a nitty gritty that he would. He still has I would say more high level, not more important, but more high level things he's still trying to get his hands around. So no, I will say that under Bob Iger previously, maintenance had improved from what was there before. So, I think he understands the value of the asset. I think there's also sort of maybe more structural problems with the maintenance situation as opposed to just sort of cheaping out. I think there's probably staffing issues there and supply chain. But I don't think that is on the top of his list right now.
I was at Disneyland just Friday, and I'm not one that usually notices maintenance type issues, but like Indiana Jones Adventure, it's crazy what I know that attraction is capable of and what it is today. And I don't know if that's maintenance or they just said, hey, we're no longer going to back this Jeep up, we're no longer going to have a moving snake, like the Yeti, but it is a pretty disappointing ride. Well,
and it's interesting too, because it's not only maintenance, it's when you decide to take the ride down. It's sort of the
right.
It is an ongoing debate, and it's probably different when you were there over Thanksgiving week than it is the second week of January too.
And I gotta believe, maybe I'm wrong, but the fact that people have paid in our case, $30 for Genie Plus, and that's one of the attractions on it, makes it even more difficult to bring it down.
I remember several years ago there was an OC Register article where it was a Disney fan walking through the park and pointing out some of the maintenance things that were going on at the time. I'll be able to find that somewhere.
OC Register.
I'm pretty sure it was OC Register. It might have been LA Times. Or the other.
Oh my goodness!
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You were quoted in that article.
That's the LA Weekly article?
Oh, it was LA Weekly. It was, all the same thing.
The snake hasn't moved in years. Yeah. I mean, I know it didn't on my last trip either, but it's a critical part.
And sometimes too, those things, like I know at Dinosaur, some of the elements stopped working, not because they were broken, but because of changes in safety rules. So like it couldn't get, like things that used to get too close to you had to be moved, like stop moving. So, I mean, years would make me, especially since that attraction has had rehab, so, that it's not just a maintenance issue. But
that snake has the force of a 747. That
wow.
Actually. Okay. I don't see any other questions. Anything else you wanted to mention? Otherwise, just kind of give a recap for those who tuned in late for what we saw this morning.
Sure. I mean, I think the big picture is, is his big message in terms of what he's going to be doing is making creativity the focus instead of distribution. DMED is not going to be a thing. That work is still ongoing. I think that's his top priority. Is the creativity component, which is going to be hard to talk about in a public setting. It's more of like investment questions and things like that. They are still looking at tighten their belt, hiring freeze still in place, travel restrictions still in place, and that work is ongoing as well as to how they can be more efficient in their business, particularly on the streaming side. But in the end, it's a man who's still trying to get his bearings, has a lot of conversations he's going to need to have with his team, from Josh D'Amaro at Parks to the studio leaders. And I think we have a lot more to learn in the weeks and months to come. So his first earnings call should be in February, early February, and I expect that to be a big one.
Were you disappointed no one asked him how excited he was for that earnings call?
I was. I wish I could. I mean, I'm never gonna have like a sit down Bob Iger, but like I have all these questions that he would not see coming. But I'm dying.
Is the name of Hollywood Studios going to be changed?
Or Credit Coaster?
That's why Tom Stagg is no longer here. Gave him that bad info at the shareholders meeting. Before you go, Ben, I wanted to get your thoughts. There's something that's been going around the past few days on. It originated an article talking about how Bob Chapek kind of cooked the book. Well, the article didn't say this, but it was interpreted by some people as cooking the books by showing something on Disney Channel that's actually Disney Plus show, so it can be charged to Disney Channel. And I just want your thoughts on how common is this? Is this in any way unethical? Is Bob Chapek getting even a worse rap than he should for something like this?
I mean, it happens all the time. Where you put things. I mean, I don't know. Unethical, I think is it depends on how important it is. I think you need to be upfront about it. I think you need to say it. But I don't think. For example, one thing that I think is similar is basically consumer products were struggling, so they started charging the studios. No, I'm sorry. The studios were struggling, so consumer products got charged more for licensing the characters that they were making products of. But they were upfront about it. They discussed it in an earnings call, and they mentioned that they made that change to be more in line with what they would basically charge, another company to do the same thing. And so I think they do it all the time to kind of right size it. I think, particularly the conversation here is around Mysterious Benedict Society, which was a Disney Plus original. Well, and was kind of became a Disney Channel show. It premieres Tuesday night on Disney Channel and then debuts on Disney Plus the next day. To me, it's a little funny because the whole point of creating DMED was so that they could do this kind of thing. There's not a Disney, right? It's like they make Disney branded television makes a show, and then Kareem Daniel and his cabal of whatever decide where it's going to go. So I mean that they did that. It's not a secret that Mysterious Benedict Society was on Disney Plus. So I don't know that I would say it's unethical. It's maybe just desperate is probably more. I think about it is just like, okay, if this show is you're so concerned that this isn't going to move the needle, and I don't blame them, right? I mean, that streaming number loss was pretty big.
Would you compare it to doing like popcorn buckets and beignet holders because it's a separate. It's not a product. This is food. This is food and beverage.
Well, but we don't. I mean, any business owner does things to manage. I mean, that's what management is. And I mean, if they were hiding it or cooking it or misleading people with it, I think that's different. And I don't know. I mean, I guess my opinion of Wall Street analysts is so low that I don't expect them to notice, but I expect them to notice a lot of things, as they obviously didn't notice because they were so surprised by the losses at Disney Plus, which means to me they didn't realize how much content Disney Plus was releasing, which is very public. So I guess this isn't like an Enron situation, and I think people might be blowing it a little bit out of proportion given the situation. I don't want to say it's not shady. It's not shady, but it just comes across as to me just desperate.
It's desperate, but it's not something that would have that in and of itself is not something that would have contributed to his being fired. Just the need to do it would have.
Well, I would say I think part of the reason he was fired was not necessarily that he did it from an ethical standpoint, but that there's not a consistency about what is on a streaming service. I mean, there's been so much of like, is this on Disney Plus? Is this on Hulu? Is this on ESPN Plus? Who knows, right? Like,
right.
There's ESPN Plus stuff on Disney. I mean, the bundle is just a mess, right? And so I think that could be part of the problem is because it all comes out of DMED. If there was no DMED, then we wouldn't be doing this. We'd be just trying to make a good show, and it would air there, and eventually it would end up on Disney Plus, which is the idea. Whereas part of the problem people, I think, we're starting to have with Mr. Chapek was, theatrically, something was made for the movies and then was released direct to Disney Plus. Now, the pandemic, obviously, I think people were willing to put up with that during the pandemic because of the situation. But I think the fact it was still happening, I think, was rubbing. I don't know if he got the memo that people were okay with it because it was a pandemic, as opposed to they don't want this to be the strategy where there's not movies in movie theaters or, Disney Plus shows on Disney Plus and Disney Channel stuff on Disney Channel. I think that is important. You want to talk about Nick's comment here?
Yeah, I'll put this up here. Did Iger hint on anything regarding more executive cuts or moves? I know as soon as Chapek was gone, the debate started on Josh.
No, I don't think he. I think most of the people that remain would have already had a direct relationship with Bob Iger. I think Kareem was pretty much the one. There's two people that I think of as sort of Bob Chapek's proteges. One's Rebecca Campbell, who is not mentioned, runs the international content and operations group, and Kareem Daniel. So I think that one was a little, obviously you're going to have people like his speechwriter, his secretary,
chief of staff.
Right. But I think I don't expect there to be any major moves. I think he's going to want to get to know the team now. And I think Josh is an interesting question because he was one that really didn't directly report to him. But I don't think he is on the same level of thin ice as Kareem Daniel was.
And then TJC says anything about price cuts at the park or changes to Genie Plus. Neither of those came up.
No, I mean, only in that, as they relate to the reservation system, that Bob wants to have a conversation with Josh about it. And I'm sure he will in the coming days.
And that's the reservation system is something Chapek's always talks so positively about. How so it's so important to making the experience great for the family from Iowa, as he often put it. So the fact that Bob wants to talk about it is at least encouraging to some of us. Yes.
Well, and I think it's interesting because, I've talked about a lot about how you don't know what's a Bob decision. You don't know what a Josh decision, right? Like, how much does Josh do this because that was the direction he was given? How much is he behind it? How much is he willing to give it up if Bob Iger doesn't think it's the right direction? Those are questions that none of us will know because, if you think about your boss, like those those are just offhand conversations you have when you have a meeting. So I think we don't it'll be interesting to see how much of an advocate he is for it or against it,
Right.
moving ahead, because there is a sense, I think, that because it was so important to Bob Chapek that it came from, there was no, Josh could push back, but he wasn't going to win. And there's no point, at some point you're just going to do what your boss wants because he's your boss and that's what you're supposed to do.
Wouldn't it be funny if Chapek actually wasn't a big fan of it, but he's just so rah-rah for his people when he wants to support his people so much that he was willing to take the hit for it for Josh? And
Yeah, I don't think Peter Rice would agree with that assessment.
Okay. In related news, Pump House One watch is over at Castaway Key. The Bob Chapek sign has been removed. I know we've all been waiting to see. And this is from the Disney Cruise Line blog, a great source for Disney Cruise Line news. And then as Heath Rosella points out, Michael Ovitz can still be found at Hilton Head. So I think that's pretty funny. All right, and let's see. Oh, I just wanted to show one more thing on the Bob Iger thing. I think this is a pretty cool way for Bob to have started his day. Filled with gratitude and excitement to be back at Walt Disney Company with a tweet of him arriving at work. Ben, where would you lay the odds that this picture was actually taken by and tweeted by Bob Iger?
Ooh, good question. I think it's fairly good because that's obviously a new. A relative. It's not like just a stock picture. If this was a professional person, they'd make sure that the mildew on the top of the thing was gone. I think this is a fairly good chance that this was Bob Iger. I'm not 100%.
Download it and check the data, like it says like what camera it was taken with, what was it really taken with, an iPhone 14 Pro or whatever.
Sent from an iPad. So
yeah, sent from an iPad.
He would be willing to take a photo with an iPad. He strikes me as that kind of guy.
He's a special kind of guy. I was at Disneyland. There was someone filming a Christmas fantasy parade, holding up the big iPad.
I mean, he is 70.
And presumably he's not driving himself to work, so he has the ability to, use an iPad while he's in the car.
Do you remember what his license plate frame used to say?
No.
It says it used to say, "Is there life after Disney?"
Now we know the answer. Nope. Not at all. Well, thanks, Ben, for being a part of this discussion. If any more Iger news breaks while we're on the air, we will have you back. But in the meantime, we're going to move on to some other
things
topics
he doesn't know about will be explored.
Yes. We're going to move on to some other topics. We're waiting for Jeremiah to join us. Let me say anytime now, Jeremiah. He is going to be coming to us live from the Magic Kingdom, so that's pretty exciting. But until we get there, also later on, we're going to be talking to someone from our travel partner, Mouthfan Travel, about the Disney Cruise Line changes that were announced this morning as they celebrate 25 years of Disney Cruise Line, which just 1/4 of this 100-year company has had a Disney cruise ship. That's amazing to me.
Well, it's also crazy to me because my wife went on, before there was Disney Cruise, when they were like partnering with whatever thing, she went on one of those. So that must have been more than 25 years ago.
The big red boat, yes. Yeah. All right, we now have Jeremiah. Jeremiah, how you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good. Let's solo you. You're in the park. We don't need to see us. So where are you right now? Tell us.
I am outside the Jungle Cruise.
Is it not Jingle Cruise this time of year?
Well, it is Jingle Cruise, but to me, it'll always be the Jungle Cruise.
So, anything in particular going on at the Magic Kingdom today you wanted to make mention of?
Not at all. I just happened to be coming over here to see what's going on. There's a couple of new shirts that I like, some new fun stuff. I just walked in really, but I did happen to get one of these.
Okay, so what's the deal with these, Jeremiah? What's going on with these Ziploc bags that have been taken over Twitter?
So remember how, 5 years ago, Splash Mountain was sponsored by Ziploc?
Yes.
And they handed out Ziploc bags to keep everybody's stuff dry and that cool stuff. So for some reason, now Ziploc sponsors the Kilimanjaro Safari and the Jingle Cruise. And, at least you get wet on the Jungle Cruise, kind of. You stick your hand out. So, yeah, they're handing out the bags there. They're really cute. We'll have a lot more photos of the distribution and everything. They've actually been doing it for a few weeks, but it is the holiday season, so trying to get anywhere right now is a challenge.
I did notice these at Disneyland too. We rode Jungle Cruise on Friday, and they had a very nice satchel with Ziplocs in them and a place to place them afterwards. Awesome. Anything else going on at the Magic Kingdom? Looks pretty busy today.
It is quite busy. Yesterday was the first party post Thanksgiving, so it was a beautiful day as I saw from the wait times. Today, it's a beautiful day with the weather, but a little busy.
I'm told you have you got some new merchandise, so you want to talk about that?
Yes, the new merchandise. There are two new of the Vault shirts. We've been seeing this amazing Vault collection since last October, celebrating Walt Disney World's 50th, and today it probably came out today. I was like, wait, I haven't seen it. There is a Big Thunder pre-opening shirt and a Haunted Mansion shirt, and the Haunted Mansion shirt has the ghost, the hand-drawn ghost look. I would love to post some pictures of them, but they are in a file that you could probably access.
I am trying. Okay, I just got access to it.
Yeah.
Nope, I don't have access to it.
No.
I need access to it.
Sadly, I can't grant access. If somebody could send those over to Doobie, we could post those.
Whoever does have access can grant me access or just send me some pictures. I would love to be able to show these. In the meantime, we are walking through Adventureland. Oh, Bubbles, are those yours?
Yes.
How's the weather today? I like to guess the weather based on dress. I'm guessing not too bad, maybe mid-80s.
No, your mid-80s. Your weather is still quite askew from ours. It is mid-70s and people are sweating. But it is very nice.
It was freezing down in SoCal this past week.
Lucky.
All right. We are now on the ball with these new merchandise. I'm going to show these. The Haunted Mansion Walt Disney World. So this is one of the ones you're describing. You like this shirt, Jeremiah?
I do. I enjoy the original, hand-drawn concept stuff that they did pre-opening. This Disneyland and Walt Disney World Haunted Mansion were built at the exact same time. Well, everything inside was built at the same time. So it's fun to see the old stuff making its return, and that's really what the Vault is. I do enjoy the Big Thunder shirt a little bit more, though.
And let's see what else we've got in here. Big Thunder shirt, which I've just told by Geo is on Shop Disney. This is nice. And $34.99. If you're curious what Jeremiah's fingers look like up close, there they are.
I'm glad I trimmed my nails earlier.
$36.99.
Yeah, that was the fun part of one was 36 and one was 34. So.
And then you also got to see some Polynesian expansion pictures?
Yes, that is for the expansion of the hotel. That is also where the luau used to be. So
okay.
That used to be a very rich plant area, the luau, and now it is dirt.
Yeah, you're in a good spot. I want to take a moment away from this and show Splash Mountain, which was not running at Disneyland.
Oh, because it was cold.
That's cool. All right. Back to the poly. So this, you said, is where the luau used to be. R.I.P. luau. Not a great experience. So what are they building here? What's coming here exactly? Do we know?
That is where the soon-to-be constructed BBC Tower will be.
So it's going to be a tower over here. That'll certainly change the sightline.
It's more of, it looks kind of like the original concept for the Polynesian Hotel from, the late 60s. But to me, it's really taken away from that area. I enjoy the basic 71 design of the Polynesian going forward into more of the static, generic hotel for me isn't Again, I'm not a DVC member. I don't stay at the hotels that often, but for me, it wouldn't be a Disney vacation if you're just staying in a basic building.
All right. You look down on me. Before I let you go, Jeremiah, let me get your opinion of the next thing we're going to be discussing, and that is Strange Magic. Nope, Strange World. Strange World, the newest film from Walt Disney Animation Studios. Did you have the chance to see it?
I have actually seen it twice, and if you want to hold off, we have a cavalcade coming, and we could do this for a little bit. If you
Okay, let's watch the cavalcade. Let's do that. That's it. Oh, good spot.
So I'm really confused, though. We're celebrating the 50th, but then next year we're going to be celebrating the 25th, and then the 100th?
So much to celebrate. Including 25 years of Treasure Planet.
Hey, I love Treasure Planet. Isn't it 20 years of Treasure Planet?
Is it 20? I thought it was like 99. Yeah, I think you're right. 20.
Remember, it's Mickey's Celebration Cavalcade with... oh, there he is.
I'm so glad you all made it to the celebration! There's magic everywhere!
Go Donald. Go Donald. Go Donald.
Thank you, Jeremiah. That was spectacular.
Okay, Strange World. I actually have seen it twice now. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Sadly, I don't know if this will be what you guys will be talking about. The fact that it's going to just fall into the pantheon of Disney movies that failed because nobody saw it or not.
What a strange reason to fail.
Well, no, because again, the advertising was very little, and I had people asking me after I saw it the first time, like, what is the story actually even about? Which is not a good way.
So you saw it twice. You clearly enjoyed the film.
Yes.
Cool. Well, we are going to talk about the success of Strange World this past box office weekend, both with the audience who saw it and the audience who didn't. So if you should run across anything else worthy of breaking in to show us, Jeremiah, do not hesitate to come back into the green room, and we will give you priority.
I shall. Nice to see you, Kyle. Nice to see you,
too.
Doobie. Happy Monday.
Nothing like that Monday after the Thanksgiving weekend to brighten up those
Serious.
spirits.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye. All right, so Kyle's back. Kyle never left. We're about to talk about Disney's box office weekend, which had some yin and yang to it, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Kyle?
Yeah, win some, lose some. The power of... I was wondering the last time Disney... I actually don't even know if Strange World ended up in the top 5. But it's probably been a while since Disney had 2 movies out around the same time because the theatrical business has been so slow. So that was kind of actually interesting that they had another one there to pick up the slack.
And some people are blaming this on lack of promotion, what we're about to talk about. But I was at Disneyland this past week, and they had this stand-up where you could get your picture taken in front of a strange world backdrop. So clearly they are promoting the heck out of this movie.
I mean, you're kind of preaching to the converted at that point, right?
Do you feel, I know you keep your finger on the pulse of everything Disney as much as anyone. Do you feel like this movie did not get the marketing and promotion that most Disney movies do?
I don't know if it didn't get, like, dollar-wise, didn't get the same push, but I think maybe just the quality of the advertisements, perhaps. Yeah, it just seemed like I was saying when we discussed it before, I feel like there's usually like several years that we have to like look for, because these animated movies take a long time, so we know about them for a long time. And this one felt like it was kind of, oh, hey, this is coming out next year, and now it's here. And I don't think I even knew until, you know, we started to get the social embargo and our review. I'm like, oh, this is coming out like next week. Like, that might just be because the year's gone by really fast, but I don't feel like I don't think I know what the plot really was. That's partially my own fault for not really watching the trailer that closely, but
based on the level of marketing I felt this was getting, I thought it was not coming up until next year. So that surprised me too. So anyway, let's get into it. Wakanda Forever, $64 million over the long holiday weekend. 64, that is not bad at all. Cumulative 367 for domestic gross. It's now number 6 on the year. I think it'll probably go up more than that. I don't know if it'll catch Maverick, but number 6, not bad at all. Conversely, Strange World, we thought Lightyear was a disappointment when it opened. Strange World, as our headline puts it, is reportedly set to lose over $100 million. It opened to only $18 million over the holiday weekend.
And that's for the 4-day or I guess it opened on Wednesday. So that's actually Wednesday through Monday. So for the weekend itself, it looks like it was 11.9. And I looked it up while you were talking to Jeremiah. Strange Magic did 5.5 its opening weekend. So this is at least double that.
Is there any chance people just thought they saw it already, that this movie came out a few years ago?
I don't think anyone thought that they saw Strange Magic, because nobody saw Strange Magic.
And obviously promotion, sci-fi, Disney has always had a hard time with doing sci-fi animated features. Treasure Planet, what we just talked about, was not a huge hit. But I think is it even a good movie? I thought it was interesting. This was an article that Screen Rant did, that this ended a streak of 31 years. Cinema Score has been around since 1991. This is the very first time a Walt Disney Animation Studios movie has come out with a cinema score of less than A-. It actually got a B, which, I mean, sounds good, but if you track cinema scores, a B is not a good score. So not only did people not go to see it, but the people that did go to see it seemed to, by and large, be more disappointed with it than they typically are for a movie like this. I'm going to bring Ben on in just a second.
Benji,
Yeah, I see. Let me give one more thing here before we do, Benji. I just wanted to... All right, and you also know it has 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. So the critics don't love it, but certainly like it. But it did struggle at the box office and with Benji.
Yeah, I think there's no question that the energy behind the marketing was less. I can't speak to the dollar value because I don't know how much billboards or TV ads they ran, because which goes to another point. But I wonder if the cinema score would reflect something similar to a testing score, and so they just didn't have the energy behind it because they didn't feel that audiences were going to respond to it, as opposed to a film that they're excited about. Now, obviously, you compare this to Wakanda Forever, which is different stratospheres, but that was everywhere. We kept getting things about content partnerships, things in the parks. I mean, while they were at the parks, I mean, it was like basically a standee and an animation class. No character meet and greets, which is sort of entry level stuff for them.
Right.
So I don't know if it's a chicken and the egg. Like, do they go, okay, well, this isn't getting great buzz, we'll release it, it'll be on Disney Plus, we'll cut our losses, or if how much the money did come into play.
And I agree. There is a certain segment. I mean, I just wait for Disney Plus now. I may not be willing to wait back in the day, wait a year for it to come on some sort of a free streaming service. But now if it's going to be 45, 90 days, Yeah, I'll see it when it comes on Disney Plus. I don't need to go see it in theater, especially when there actually are a fair number of other movies I want to go see right now out in theaters.
Well, I also wanted to, it used to be the Thanksgiving holiday was a movie going holiday, and that's why people did it. And I wonder if streaming changes Thanksgiving, the actual Thanksgiving holiday, because when you can just sort of get everyone together and watch whatever's new on whatever streaming service, as opposed to buying 12 tickets, or as opposed to in the summer where you're looking to get out and I mean, go out and go inside, but it is a different vibe. I wonder because even Encanto, which kind of had a second life on Disney Plus, did well, but when it got to Disney Plus, and really the only animated movie that really did gangbusters was Minions, which was early in the year. Obviously, a franchise film sequel, so it's a little apples and oranges. But I'm curious. It's there's a lot of talk about what's the future of family films. Like, will they be successful? And then that's a big question, especially when you're looking at that. These are not cheap films to make, and how do you justify them if people don't go see them in theaters?
And so, the other release this year was Lightyear, which was also, not just a disappointment, but a large disappointment. What's coming up next from either Disney or Pixar?
So next from Pixar will be Elemental, which I believe is June, and then Wish, which is in November, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Wish, I think, will have a little extra marketing push because it's part of Disney 100. It's a sort of Disney's Studios Disney 100 film. And so, it'll be integrated, I think, a little bit better than this one was. I'm just really surprised, because even not to get too into the weeds here, but usually we get invited to, a day where they talk to us about making the movie. And I'm not saying that didn't happen, but if it happened, they cast us much smaller net because none of us Disney sites were involved in that. We didn't get really any marketing until we went to a screening of it. So, we weren't it was less of a priority for us because we were getting less sort of reminders of it happening. And,
Right.
And I'm not saying we are the result,
this is clearly where we live. And if we don't know that this movie is about to come out, if it's not foremost in our mind, clearly they're not trying to give it the biggest push in the world.
Well, and I do question the volume too. I mean, you have Black Panther that just came out. You have Disenchanted, which is on Disney Plus. You have, Santa Clauses and other things. A family can only watch. A family should only watch so much content. I mean, you don't want. I mean, I watch a lot. I can't watch everything the Walt Disney Company puts out, and I spend most of my living days watching content the Walt Disney Company puts out.
So is there too much? Can Disney handle 2 animated films a year along with 14 Marvel films? And
I think they can do 2 animated films, but I just don't know that maybe they need to prioritize. Do they say, okay, maybe Disenchanted should have been January? I mean, does maybe, there's times when people are willing to go out to a theater and there's times when they're not. And I think a streaming service when it's January, no holiday, cold, miserable outside, that's the time you would push it, or you would never release a movie in January unless it's sort of you're trying to kill it. So I think the Walt Disney Company is putting out too much content. But as much as I hate to say it, because I want them to make as much content as they can, because I love it. Right. But I think there's a point when normal people reach a breaking point. And then at some point, if you say, oh, hey, maybe I can't watch everything, and as opposed to if you could have people, I mean, I think it's even more apropos for Marvel Star Wars. Are people giving up on Andor and just being like, okay, I'm not going to watch every Star Wars thing because it's too much?
Yeah, that would be. What they need is maybe they should just worry about creating the great content and have a whole different person and department that's in charge of determining when and where it should actually be distributed to the public, and that would solve this thing.
Well, I mean, I will go out on a limb and say I don't know that necessarily it's the structure that was the problem. I think it might have been the people who were the problem. Right? I mean, that's all well and good, because originally it was oh, well, they'll work with the creative people, and so do the creative people really care about P&L? Probably not. But if they can do whatever they want, but then when they're not told where they can do whatever they want, then they want to control it because that's what controls the actual production.
So we know Lightyear was a disappointment. We know Strange World is a huge disappointment. But to put it in some real context of just how disappointing it was, thank you for this tweet, Benji, from Cartoon Brew Disney, which of course they own everything. Disney's Bob Burgers movie outgrows Strange Magic in its opening 3-day weekend. You know, I got to be honest. I got a lot more marketing for the Bob's Burger movie than I did for Strange World. So.
Well, do we know Bob's? Can we find Bob's Burgers cinema score real quick? I'm sorry to.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. No, that's how we do these things live. We can do stuff like that.
I enjoyed the Bob's Burgers. I'll tell you, I went to go see the Bob's Burgers movies opening weekend. Did not make an effort to go see Strange World.
I have not seen either. I have. What's funny is the concept of Strange World is actually more interesting to me. Got an A. Bob's Burgers movie got an A. More interesting to me than a lot of more interesting than Lightyear because of the sci-fi, the adventure, the throwbackness of it. It's almost like maybe this is the John Carter of Walt Disney Animation Studios films. Maybe that's what's going on. All right, Ben. Well, I appreciate you popping in. If you ever have something else, we know you're down there. Just wave your hand. You can pop in again. But we are ready to move on to something completely different. So Disney Cruise Line, which I did not need this. I was feeling very old this morning. I saw a picture of myself where I'm actually going bald up here, and I was feeling very old. And then I find out that Disney Cruise Line is turning 25. So, yeah, we're old. So we have Heather from our travel partner, Mouse Fan Travel, and she's here to talk to us about what's going to be going on with their 25th celebration and some very sad news for us platinum cruisers. Heather, how you doing?
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Very nice to have you with us today. Thanks for taking the time to join us.
Glad to be here.
All right, so tell us about the Silver Anniversary at Sea.
I'm really excited about it. I don't know if you guys are, but like you were saying, I feel really old. Disney Cruise Line's 20. It seems like it was 5 minutes ago they started, but then also a long time ago. So in true Disney fashion, they announced this big celebration and then didn't give us any details. More to come soon. So they know how to keep us hanging on. But basically, it's only this summer. It goes from early May till roughly Labor Day-ish. So it's going to be across all the ships in the fleet. And there's going to be, new treats, beverages, new merchandise. They have a new song coming that I think is going to... They alluded that it's going to be at the sail away party, and Mickey and Minnie are going to have new costumes, and there's a little bit of new entertainment, like a new nighttime situation. I don't know if it's a show, if it's going to be kind of like a cocktail party. They're not really saying.
And so this starts, do we know exactly when it starts?
Yeah, so it depends on your cruise ship. So it's going to start May 1st on the Wish, May 6th on the Fantasy, May 7th on the Dream, the 15th on the Wonder, and the 24th of May on the Magic. So,
and you said it's only going to be for this summer. This is like a one-time thing.
Yeah, as of right now, who knows with Disney, right? They have a way of extending things, but as of right now, it goes through September. I think 17th is the latest date, and that will be on the Dream. The others kind of end, a few days before that.
Wonderful. So I know I'm sure you guys have your travel agent community, just like we have our Slack for talking about all this. What was the reaction like for you guys? First of all, when you were shocked to find out it's been 25 years, but
that was my first thing. Really, 25 years? It feels like it's been 25 years, but then on the other hand, it feels like they just debuted 5 minutes ago. So
right.
Everybody was really excited, and immediately we're having clients email us, call us, sign me up. I need to get to that Pearl status. I need to, let's go. Everybody's really excited about it, and I think it was smart of Disney to do it over the summer because it's hot to sail in the summer. Not everybody wants to be down in the Caribbean in a 90-degree temperature. So
all these sailings can be booked right now?
They absolutely can, yes.
How would you recommend guests book these?
Well, obviously through your Mouse Fan travel agent, you can reach out, give us a call, an email, or you can go right onto the Disney Cruise Line website if you don't have an agent and book it that way.
Oh no. Is there any reason in the world someone would book directly through Disney as opposed to through a Disney travel agent?
I don't see why you would. I mean, you get all the concierge level service at no extra charge. I love the banner, just pops up right there on the bottom.
Mouse Fan Travel. You can even ask for Heather. Heather is
Yes,
my travel agent. And
I'm already trying to decide when I'm getting, which ship am I going on? When am I going? I want to go see all the merchandise. I want to see all the snacks that they're going to have.
And how, I don't know if you're even allowed to answer, but how have the guests reacted? Are you getting a lot of people saying, yes, get me on these ships?
Yeah, I think it's been it was a surprise announcement. Nobody knew that anything really was coming. Disney hadn't alluded to anything. So everybody was really happy about it. And like I said, they announced that new level of the Castaway Club, which frustrates me because I finally just made it to platinum and now I have to go and make it to pearl. And so everybody wants to make it to pearl. And, I've had clients say, I'm only 10 more sailings. I only have 3 more sailings. Let's go. Come on. We need to do this. But Disney hasn't told us what that level means. What perks do we get? Are they going to change the whole perk system? We don't know, but everybody's excited.
And we should talk specifically about that. So right now you have your silver level, which when you take your second cruise, you're silver. Your gold, which is 5 cruises?
5 to 9. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then once you get 10, you're platinum.
Mm-hmm, correct.
Which I am, and I can't wait to take my next cruise, my first as a platinum cruiser. Very excited in February. And I thought I had achieved the pinnacle of success in life and could safely pass away without feeling like I'm missing out on anything. But no. So the new level is called Pearl and requires how many?
It requires 25 or more sailings. And I know of at least 5 or 6 of my clients that are already double pearl. Benji is one of them. So I think it was needed. It was time. There were so many people, that had been platinum for so long that have been wanting something more. They wanted more perks than the people who have only sailed 10 times when they've sailed 30. So I think it was time. I'm curious to see what it's going to entail. What do you get for sailing that many times with Disney?
Right. So yeah, for those who are kind of new to Disney Cruise Line, as you achieve, you get the silver, you get that cool tote bag waiting for you in your room. Platinum level, you get some palo and you get to book your stuff really, really early. We don't know what Pearl level is going to bring. Are you going to be able to dock the ship at Castaway Key on the calmer days? So we're going to find out. But whatever it is, us Disney fans are going to go crazy for it.
I feel like they need to compete with other cruise lines that have loyalty programs where, if you sail, you're at their pinnacle, you're getting a free cruise. Maybe it's not on the newest ship. Maybe it's not a week long, but you can get a 3 or 4 night cruise for being loyal to that particular cruise line. And Disney hasn't done anything like that yet. So I'm hopeful. They're probably not going to do that, but I hope it's, let's step it up a little bit.
Maybe at least like a free night on the Big Red Boat or something. Do you? I know some other cruise lines, they do it by night stay as opposed to by cruise. Disney strictly does it by cruise, right?
Yes, only by cruise.
So whether you do a 3-day or a 14-day, it counts as
one sailing, which I think is good for them because they are pricier than the other, their competitors in the same kind of level. So to do, by night, it's not really the same as where you can jump on a competitor and do, a 2-night sailing for next to nothing. It's still a lot of money to do 3-night sailing on Disney. So
it sure is. But if you're going to spend the money, you want to spend it at Mouse Fan Travel because they'll take care of you. Sure,
we will. We know all the ins and outs.
Lowest price available. Make sure you get what's going on, so you don't have to keep all track in your head. But usually give away some nice onboard credits as well to make it feel a little cheaper.
Yeah, or your agent might give you a gift in the stateroom. And don't forget, we're always watching, too, to see if a lower price comes out, which is not always the case with Disney, but occasionally they do. They just had a big discount for Disney Plus subscribers. And so we're going to get that applied for you. So you're always getting the best price.
And before I let you go, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about Disney's newest ship. Have you been on the Wish?
I have. I went on her on one of the preview sailings before she opened to the public. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. You're going to have so much fun.
So you are a big fan. It's a pretty cool ship.
Oh gosh, she's so beautiful. She's laid out differently than the other 4. So it took me a minute to kind of get used to the layout. But the food was fantastic. The restaurants are beautiful. The new shows are great. And I personally think it's the prettiest ship in the fleet. It's just really beautiful.
It is. The pictures from it are phenomenal. I'm so excited to get on the ship and experience it for myself. I've read, it's so hard for us experienced cruisers. I've done, I think, 11 if I count a media cruise. And we expect magic, wonder, dream fantasy. We expect things to be a certain way. And they dared to change things on us. They dared to change things.
Yes.
So, and some people have not reacted. It's hard for us Disney fans to change. So I'm going in with,
it takes a lot to get a Disney fan out of their comfort zone, know, especially hardcore Disney fans that think they know everything. They go to the parks all the time, so they're used to knowing where to go, what to do. And so to change it up, it's a little risky, but I think they pulled it off. And my favorite thing is that they have these little cafes and nooks all around the ship where you can sit and you can work if you have to work, or grab a coffee or grab a glass of wine. And there's so many places to just congregate that the other ships don't have. And I really enjoyed that, sit and people watch. And there's so many characters out, and the atrium with that beautiful stage where they can do shows there now. I think it's great.
Yeah, the nooks are what I love. I like to find a place where I can go. I usually wake up in the morning before the rest of my family and get out and do some work, catch up on the computer or whatever, because they sleep in and I don't. So I'm looking forward to finding my nooks. Sorry, I'm kind of halting here because if we're going to talk about this atrium, I should at least show a picture of it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then also, I don't know if we have any spa fans out there, but the new rainforest room, it's amazing.
Is it? Okay.
It is. For the first time ever, there's an outdoor deck, actually, like an actual outdoor space with hot tubs and lounge chairs and swings. And if you want, you have, if you buy a day pass, you have the access for the entire day, so you can come and go. And they have special mood lighting at night, so if you wanted to come back at night, they let you bring in cocktails and champagne. So if you wanted to go to the bar, get yourself a glass of champagne, and then just come and sit in the outdoor rainforest room, you can, which is nice because it's quieter than the rest of the ship. So if you just wanted an intimate space to sit with your friends, it's beautiful. And then of course during the day, it's nice.
Oh, that is a great tip. I was not aware of that. And by the way, did I mention these are the kind of tips you get when you book with the travel agent. So we highly recommend Mouse Fan Travel. Use them myself for every Disney vacation I take. So I'm not just hyping them without having personal experience. And Heather is awesome. You can ask for Heather. Heather, what's your last name?
Heather Grodin.
Okay, because I had a different name in my head, but
I just got married earlier this year, so I surprised. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell any clients, and then just one day my name changed on my emails.
I'm like, I think it's Colson, but I think it's not. So
it used to be.
So thank you for clarifying that. Mousefantravel.com. Heather, I really appreciate you coming on this morning and cluing us in what's going on for Disney Cruise Line 25th.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Can I say, I really like those Mickey and Minnie outfits that they're getting for the 25th. And since it's the silver anniversary, it makes perfect sense that their costumes are teal.
But it's a very pretty teal. It's nautical. It's not to teal. No, that didn't work. But I like them.
You could call them aqua if you wanted, but I would argue that it's teal.
Minnie's a captain now, right? It used to be like Captain Mickey and Minnie, but now it's Captain Minnie and Captain Mickey because that's the way.
He didn't get bumped up to what, Commandeer or
Commander, like Commander Tom. I wonder what Tom's up to these days. Can we, Ben? I know you're down there. Can we call up Commander Tom and get his opinion on this whole Chapek Iger thing? No, okay. All right. Before we close out this morning's edition, this long edition, we try to make this show about a half hour, but when there's a town hall, things change. This long edition of the Morning Ish Report, we have to do fun stuff. I refuse to do the show without some fun stuff. Unfortunately, today I've only got one fun thing, and that is, do you know what it is, Kyle?
Mouse Fan Travel, according to the banner.
Thank you for that reminder. Do you know I have control over that? I'm trying to think of the best way to show this. Here, I'll give you some hints.
Okay.
Its first credit was Toy Story. Also, James and the Giant Peach, A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc., Cars.
Are you talking about first credit ever or just for Disney? He froze, so I'll never know now.
Just for Disney.
Is that Ratzenberger?
Just for Disney.
Okay. I said Ratzenberger.
Am I still frozen?
You're frozen on the screen.
come
I can hear you now, though.
Goodness.
If
me.
that helps.
I hope you're talking, Kyle.
I am. I'm talking. I can hear you.
Am I back yet?
Are you? You tell me. I hope you're back. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Show me who this person is, because I'm out of guesses, and it's.
Am I back?
Yes, I think.
Okay. Today is the 79th birthday of the one and only Randy Newman.
Oh, okay.
So,
not who I
he brought us some of the greatest Disney songs of the past couple of decades. He also brought us I Will Go Sailing No More. So on balance, it's a positive, but it's pretty close.
I like to think of him. I will tell you, this weekend, I actually went to Spotify and typed in Sunshine Plaza and listened to that loop. And that includes I Love LA. So
I love LA. He didn't do Born in East LA, right? That was a whole different guy.
I don't think so. I imagine he didn't have 2 LA songs. But
That was Cheech and Chong, I believe. So
he's
Randy
got
Newman,
some great songs outside of Disney as well, as you might
Short People.
Short People and
we were
some other
talking about
ones
earlier.
that I won't talk about.
What's your favorite Randy Newman song, Kyle? Disney song. Disney song.
Favorite
sorry.
Disney song. Okay.
Yes.
The short one in Toy Story 4 is actually, or 3, 4? Which one has Forky? 4? The Throw Yourself Away. That one's kind of fun.
Okay, Benji, can I bring you up to ask you the same question? What is your favorite Disney Randy Newman song?
I have a better answer because it's not a real Randy Newman song. And it's,
Benji, you're muted, so let Kyle finish his answer and then you can go.
There's a Family Guy episode early on where they have a Randy Newman impersonator, and that's probably my favorite Randy Newman Disney song. Now that it's Fox is part of Disney.
How about you, Benji?
He's still muted.
Oh my goodness. How about you, Benji? Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Okay, we were in a well-oiled machine.
Really
Probably
falling
something
apart in the
from,
second hour.
Princess and the Frog.
Which one?
Probably
Friends on the Other Side.
I'm gonna take you there. I'm gonna take you there. I'm gonna take you all the way. Traveling down the bayou, rolling down the bayou. I don't know.
I'm not a huge fan of that one, but that's cool.
I like the show. I think the
I
show.
forgot about those ones.
the
Down
show
in
they
New
did
Orleans
at-
is really
at,
good.
Wherever it was, Rivers
New
of
Orleans
America.
Square.
Yeah. Well, also Disney World too.
Oh.
The Rivers of America is what I meant to say.
Well, the right answer for both of you is my favorite Randy Newman song, and that is James. My name is James from James and the Giant Peach. How are ya? Isn't it a lovely day? I love that song. So anyway, thank you all for joining us on the November 28th edition of the Morningish Report. We're here every morning at 10 a.m., more or less, to talk about the highlights of Disney news for the previous day, the current day, and always fun stuff. And we'll be back, not us personally, but someone will be back here at 3. What's going on at 3?
Daily Necessities.
Oh, it's not at 4?
Nope, it's at 3.
Sorry, my mistake. That was what I was going to mention. At 3 o'clock today with a special Cyber Monday edition of Barely Necessities, the Disney merchandise show starring Rebecca and Becca. And that'll be a ton of fun. They're doing 2 this week. So those of you who love one of the Rebeccas like I do are in luck. That sounded really creepy. Never mind. I think it's time to end this. Bye, everybody.